This is my first reading as a master of finance. So I'm going to be talking about my influence as Grace Paley. Actually, Evan posted that the open submissions was Grace Paley, and I saw that and thought I could submit anything from the past year and a half. And it would be probably directly influenced by Grace Paley. I think mostly one of the reasons that as writers it's important for us, we're always told, read widely and often. And I think really that's important because I find myself getting stuck in ruts where I kind of forget that I can do whatever the fuck I want as a writer. And it's important to read as many people as you can to find out that people out there are doing whatever the fuck they want. And Grace Paley is amazing, and she did whatever the fuck she wanted. And so I read her, I was introduced to her during my first year of grad school, actually. And I read her and I realized that I maybe wasn't being honest to myself as a writer in my writing, or maybe that I didn't know myself as a writer. And she, the first thing I read by her was Enormous Changes at the Last Minute, and I thought, this is a writer who is unabashedly wholly herself in her work. And it just really just blew my mind that she did that. She had a fierce political, social activist life. There's actually a really great Bookworm interview, if you guys listen to those. Michael Silverblatt said of her, she makes it possible to be whoever you are as an artist, which I strive to do. And actually, I'm going to read a story today called Wants, which is one of her very popular stories. And I read this, I think the second story I read, and I didn't run home, but I took the bus home and quickly walked home. And my partner Stella, who's in the audience, was painting our house. And I remember she was standing up, she's 4'11". She was standing on a bookshelf and a chair and in her high heels trying to get the tops of the ceiling. And I was like, let me read you this story I just read out loud while you paint. And so I'm going to read it to you guys. It's called Wants. I saw my ex-husband in the street. I was sitting on the steps of the new library. Hello, my life, I said. We had once been married for 27 years, so I felt justified. He said, what? What life? No life of mine. I said, okay. I don't argue when there's real disagreement. I got up and went to the library to see how much I owed them. The librarian said $32 evens, and he voted for 18 years. I didn't deny anything, because I don't understand how time passes. I've had those books. I have often thought of them. The library is only 2 blocks away. Mac's husband followed me to the book's return desk. He interrupted the librarian, who had more to tell. In many ways, he said, as I look back, I attribute the dissolution of our marriage to the fact that you never invited the Bertrams to dinner. That's possible, I said. But really, if you remember, first my father was sick that Friday, then the children were born, then I had those Tuesday night meetings, then the war began, then we didn't seem to know them anymore. But you're right, I should have had them to dinner. I gave the librarian a check for $32. Immediately, she trusted me, put my past behind her, wiped the record clean, which is just what most other municipal and or state bureaucracies will not do. I checked out the 2 Edith Wharton books I had just returned because I'd read them so long ago, and they are more apropos now than ever. They were The House of Mirth and The Children, which is about how life in the United States and New York changed in 27 years, 50 years ago. A nice thing I do remember is breakfast, Mac's husband said. I was surprised. All we ever had was coffee. Then I remembered there was a hole in the back of the kitchen closet which opened into the apartment next door. There they always ate sugar-cured smoked bacon. It gave us a very grand feeling about breakfast, but we never got stuffed and sluggish. That was when we were poor, I said. When were we ever rich, he asked. Oh, as time went on, as our responsibilities increased, we didn't go in need. You took adequate financial care, I reminded him. The children went to camp 4 weeks a year in indecent ponchos with sleeping bags and boots, just like everyone else. They looked very nice. Our place was warm in winter, and we had nice red pillows and things. I wanted a sailboat, he said, but you didn't want anything. Don't be bitter, I said. It's never too late. No, he said with a great deal of bitterness. I may get a sailboat. As a matter of fact, I have money down on an 18-foot two-rigger. I'm doing well this year and can look forward to better. But as for you, it's too late. You'll always want nothing. He had had a habit throughout the 27 years of making a narrow remark which, like a plumber's snake, could work its way through the ear, down the throat, halfway to my heart. He would then disappear, leaving me choking with equipment. What I mean is, I sat down on the library steps and he went away. I looked through the house of mirth but lost interest. I felt extremely accused. Now it's true, I'm short of requests and absolute requirements, but I do want something. I want, for instance, to be a different person. I want to be the woman who brings these 2 books back in 2 weeks. I want to be the effective citizen who changes the school system and addresses the Board of Estimate on the troubles of this dear urban center. I had promised my children to end the war before they grew up. I wanted to have been married forever to one person, my ex-husband or my present one. Either has enough character for a whole life, which as it turns out is really not such a long time. You couldn't exhaust either man's qualities or get under the rock of his reasons in one short life. Just this morning, I looked out the windows to watch the street for a while and saw that the little sycamores the city had dreamily planted a couple of years before the kids were born had come that day to the prime of their lives. Well, I decided to bring those 2 books back to the library, which proves that when a person or an event comes along to jolt or appraise me, I can take some appropriate action, although I am better known for my hospitable remarks. So this is a short story I started writing, I should say, a couple weeks after I read that, and I told myself I was going to wholly be myself and just not hold any punches, I guess. And actually, it's being published next month, so you can read it. I don't know how much I'm allowed to say about that. So. It's called A Shed is a Shed is a Shed. There's this thing, a bird, she lives inside my chest. She's always been there and her name is Gail. And when the waves crash against the rocks, I can't think. I only get my thinking done in between waves. It goes, crash, reseed. We couldn't find a good place to build the shed. I want it to be 20 feet long, I say. There's no way we can afford a shed that size, Tennessee says. And then, crash. Well, it should be on flat ground then, I say. No shit. We hike through the woods looking for any section that's been miraculously cleared for us. Tennessee's braid bounces up and down. She lifts her boot and the braid swings up and out, and with every step it slams against her back. Crash. We reach a clearing and it's close enough to the house. What a great spot, I remark, because I know what I'm talking about. No shit, Tennessee says. She pulls out her measuring tape and stretches it across the clearing. It's too small, I think. Way too small. What will this be? A shed for a squirrel? Crash. Gail and I leave the ocean, and I can think again. The other boys changing in their t-shirt and gym shorts. I duck into a bathroom stall to squeeze into my undershirt. Gail is too loud. People don't like to see my bare ribs with no skin, just a bird who can be a bitch at times. He's really boy crazy right now. The other boys take their shirts off and she goes bonkers. She flaps and squawks and hollers like she's at a strip club on ladies' night. When Roger, the new boy, first showed up to Mr. Folden's PE class, she went absolutely crazy. So nutso, she knocked against my heart and gave me chest pains. Then she stumbled and ran into my lungs. She knocked the wind out of me, something fierce, and I had to sit with my arms over my head until the pain went away. I changed into my gym clothes and walked into the gymnasium. Mr. Folden's face is bright red, and he holds up his coffee mug in front of his chest like he's moments away from taking a drink. Everyone at school knows he puts whiskey in that coffee cup. Line up, fellas, he says. Today we study the great art of jiu-jitsu. We'll finish the week with a tournament that will end in death for some of you. A man walks out in a white robe and nothing underneath. Mr. Folden takes a sip and coughs down his whiskey. A woman comes in with a note asking that I be excused from class. My uncle is here to pick me up. We're at the ocean, and Tennessee has all of the materials. This should take no time. Hammer this, screw that, saw this, rivet that, bang, bang, we have a shed. Crash. Okay, I have everything measured and cut, Tennessee says. It's not going to be made out of wood, I say. No, sheet metal will last longer, shithead, she says. Crash. The air is salty here. Gail always complains about that. The air is tight with salt. When I went to the mountains with my other uncle, the air was light and it smelled like water. When I went to the swamp with my grandma, the air was heavy and weighed you down. Here at the beach, the air is tight with salt and it gets stuck everywhere, even when you don't go in the water. Crash. Won't it rust? I said, because I definitely know what I'm talking about. No, I'll take care of it. Things only rust when you don't take care of them. My hands are cold and I put them under my shirt to warm them up. Gail nibbles on my finger. I shiver and pull my hands out so I can hold a large 2x4 in place at Tennessee's instruction. The hammering and the orders from Tennessee take over the waves crashing, and soon I can't do any thinking, not even in between waves. When the sun goes down, my uncle, Tennessee's dad, comes out and tells us to come inside. Dinner is ready. I'm cold and Gail shivers, so I head straight into the bathroom. I draw a hot bath and eat my bowl of stew in the tub. Here are some jokes Gail told me. How many punk rockers does it take to mow a lawn? Punk rockers don't mow lawns, they mow hawks. What's a ghost's favorite food? Blueberries. Two nuns are driving to church, and one says, I've never come this way before, and the other nun says, it's the cobblestone road. I'm behind in PE because I missed class yesterday. Students are already sparring with their partners in preparation for Friday's tournament, and it's a big deal because a lot of parents are coming to watch it, and everyone is saying Mr. Folden will flunk you if you die during the contest. Mr. Folden keeps sneaking off into the corner of the gym to smoke a joint with the guy in the white robe and nothing underneath. My sparring partner looks like Clark Kent, so I spend most of the period lying on the floor with a bloody nose. Gail tells me jokes, and I wish I was at the ocean. Clark Kent tells me he can't wait to murder me on Friday. Gail tells me it's hyperbole, and that I'll be the one murdering someone on Friday. So the deal is, I always wonder how long Gail will stay. I ask her if she's trapped. She tells me I don't know what I'm talking about. We finished the shed before the end of the week. I'm glad because I'm pretty sure I'm going to die on Friday. My form has not gotten any better and my partner's not helping. On Wednesday, Mr. Folden shows up high on LSD, so he isn't much use either. Tennessee attaches the door to the shed while I'm at school, which she shows me when I get home. The inside is dark, save for a little light that crawls in between the corrugated metal and the dirt floor. Gail wants to see it, so I lift up my shirt. We could live in here, she says. I like the idea because I can't hear the waves crashing, so I rub my thumb across Gail's beak. It's the day before the tournament, and Mr. Folden cuts up lines of cocaine for himself and his favorite students and the man in the white robe with nothing on underneath. Clark Kent is one of Mr. Folden's favorites, and when he returns to the mat, he's clapping his hands together and telling me he wants to fight. Come on, he says. Come on, come on. You should take the first swing, Gail says. Really knock him out. Clark Kent will never be loved. So I swing my hardest and knock him upside his head. His head turns sideways with the punch, and he slowly rotates it back towards me with a grin, and his first punch blisters the capillaries around my left eye. The blood army crawls out of the vein, and under my skin, laying out a purple and green blanket for a picnic, Gail starts flapping around. She tells me to block his next move. Kill that asshole, she says. Make him pay. Clark Kent sweeps his leg under mine, and I'm on my back. He takes his boot and presses against my neck, and Gail is trying to break out. I'll kill him myself, she squawks. His boot on my neck, an ocean of air sloshes in my head, begging to be let out, and Mr. Folden blows his whistle and announces that it's time for more rails of cocaine. I slip out of the gym. Gail and I walk home. Tennessee is in the shed. She hangs pictures on the wall and has laid out a small cot. It's nice in here, I say. I like it, she says. Gail agrees. There's a karate tournament at school tomorrow. You should come, I say. Oh yeah, she says. Should I line the pictures up with the shed or with the earth? Either way it looks crooked from a certain angle. The shed, I say. You know, tomorrow might be my last day on this planet. Clark Kent wants to kill me and I'm no good at stopping him. Well, make sure you finish your homework, Tennessee says. In the morning, I open my window and let the waves keep me from thinking. Crash. Gail pumps me up. No more Mr. Nice Guy. Nice guys finish last. You can do it. You'll kill him. You'll pummel him something good. He'll never know what hit him. You'll float like a butterfly and sting like a bee. Crash. Tennessee is in the stands at the tournament. Mr. Folden is riding a meth bender from the day before and a half-erected arena sits in the middle of the gymnasium. Mr. Folden spent all night trying to get the thing built. It's mostly made up of old shopping carts and coat hangers. Clark Kent's eyes are bloodshot and I know for a moment I can beat him. We are first up. Parents and wrestling fans make up the crowd. The man in the white robe with nothing on underneath is at the back of the stands. Mr. Folden walks out into the ring and announces our match. And when he says to the death, the crowd goes apeshit. Then he leans in and tells me I'm supposed to take off my shirt. That's how these things are done, boy, he says. Gail agrees. If you die, I die with you, and I don't want to die in darkness, she says. I take my shirt off, and Tennessee stands up in the front row. That's my cousin, she says. Biggest badass on the block. Clark Kent smirks and tells me I'm dead. He tells me I don't have any skin where Gail is and that I have a bird living in my chest. He tells me things I already know. Mr. Folden blows the whistle and Clark Kent nails me in the nose. Like clockwork, the faucet opens and blood runs freely. He kicks at my knees and I step back. The crowd throws whoops and hollers at us and Gail calls Clark Kent a pretty boy. He knocks me to the ground. The parents in the crowd go wild. They love it. Mr. Folden hands Clark Kent a trash can and he knocks me over the head with it. Then he drops his elbow against my chest and knocks against my ribs. They crack and I tell Gail to be safe. I die when you die, I say. The parent throws a folding chair to Clark Kent and it's the last thing I see. It's dark, save for the little light that crawls in between the corrugated metal and the dirt floor. The cot is taut under my weight. The air is tight with salt and it's tight in my chest. I scramble to get my hand under my shirt to feel around in the darkness. My hand falls against my ribs and the bone is cracked, smashed up against the next one, 2 prison bars bit together. No word from Gail. Tennessee opens the shed door and the light floods the room. The sound of the waves crashing against the rocks walks in and I get a break from thinking. Morning, sleepyhead, she says. Crash. I notice half of the pictures on the wall are crooked. Tennessee holds a bowl of stew. Gail's gone, I say. Where would she have gone, Tennessee says. Crash. I don't know. Half of those pictures are crooked, I say. Tennessee sets a bowl of stew down and walks around the shed, shifting the pictures so they're all crooked. Now they're all crooked, I say. Tennessee smiles and starts to leave. Hey, I say, there's some rust growing on the edge of the wall there. Crash. Oh, who cares, Tennessee says. It adds character. A shed's a shed is a shed. She turns and walks back towards the house, and I feel a flutter in my chest. My shirt is cold against my chest where there is no skin, just ribs and no Gail. Gail, I say. Gail. Gail. Crash. I feel a hiccup in my chest, and it feels like Gail is standing on my spine, an incredible weight. There it is, a nuzzle against my ribs. Want to hear a joke? Gail says. Yes. Yes, a joke, I say. A man stumbles across a magic lamp and a genie comes out, Gail says. He tells the man, you can have one wish and you can wish for whatever you'd like. Thank you.